Hey, this is John from Sevendust, and you're listening to Rhino Radio.
Or from Rhino Radio here, and today through the magic of the internet and the lovely presence of John, we're going to hear more about this upcoming album from Sevendust. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm very good, very good. I'm very excited because you guys have a new album coming out October 23rd. It's called The Blood and Stone. It's the 13th album. Did you actually understand the fact that you've been going on for about 20 years now, 13 albums? Is it something that you just wake up in the morning and think about, or is it something you just postpone to another interview?
Yeah, a little of both. I mean, it's one of those things that, once you've done 13 of them, I think, not that it's routine by any stretch of the imagination, but, you're kind of not, I don't want to say desensitized, but it kind of comes, more of like the norm. We're kind of in sync. We're either on tour or we're in the studio and we're creating and making music. But when someone sits there and says, how does it feel to have 13 records and be together as a band for, over 20 years, you have to pause for a second and go, wait a minute. We were thankful to get one. And then, just to be able to follow it up with the home record, to get a second crack at it. There's a lot of bands that never get, a second or a third chance to actually start a career. And when you look back and you think, wow, it's been 20 years, it's something special, man. I mean, it's definitely something that we don't take for granted, for sure. When we look at the big picture and we're like, wow, I mean, we're blessed to have been, able to do it as long as we have and to put out as much music as we have. And music that we still get excited about at the end of the day. That's the thing, is it's one thing to put records out. And I know there's been, a lot of bands in history that have kind of churned out records, and, some of those records were a bit lackluster or whatever with different member changes. But, it's kind of it's an interesting spot because it's the same five guys that are on that first record. And if you had asked me then, fast forward 20 years, what are you going to be thinking when you go into your 13th record? I'd have told you, you're crazy. We're not going to make 13 records. That's nuts, But we're here, and we still love making music, and we still love that whole creative process. So for us, it's nothing short of a blessing, for sure.
Well, as a fan, I kind of got used to Sevendust being in my life. If I'm mistaken, the longest time it took you between two albums was about 3 years. But even though I'm enjoying every release and I'm excited about this upcoming one, just like I did with every other release before, apparently this one touches on the kind of the endurance, maybe the dark side of being in a band. So it's something that fans might not see, as we just look up to you when you're on stage, enjoying the show, enjoying the music, kind of idolizing the rock vibe around it. But now you're telling me that there's a really hard part that the band wanted to focus an entire album about. So how do you connect to that personally?
Well, I mean, it's not all, for us, I think that when we write a record, it's more of a therapy session. We've kind of had this thing going our whole career. There's plenty of bands that, want to either wear costumes or talk about space dragons and, things that aren't real, and that's totally fine. If you want to talk about those things, it's your business. But for us, it's kind of a chance for us to wear our heart on our sleeve. And life isn't always easy. There's plenty of ups and there's plenty of downs. And when you look back over the 20 years being in a band, there's a lot of special moments during that ride, and there's a lot of dark places during the ride too. But I think for us, it's just, about the fact that we're in this for the long haul, and I think most of what we write about is the fact that it's not always, everyone thinks we're just flying around in Lear jets and, trading Rolls Royces and, beach houses and stuff like that. But there's a lot of work that actually kind of goes into making this whole thing work. And it doesn't come out, with a lot of love, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of love and joy that's put into it. But there's also a lot of, there's a lot of things that we go through along the way. I mean, we're all very close to each other, so anything that happens to one person in the band, it kind of affects the group. And when I mean the group, I mean the wives, the children, the families. I mean, we're pretty close knit, to be together for this long and to have our kids grow up together, and see the shows and kind of see the progression of where we started from to where we are now. I mean, it's life. It's everything, and life isn't always, sunshines and rainbows and unicorns. I mean, sometimes there's some dark clouds and, storms and a lot of stuff that you have to go through. So I think for the record, it's like it can focus on some of the darker stuff, but I think it also focuses on the positivity of the fact that, Blood and Stone is sort of representative of where, we are. Blood is family and Stone is enduring. I mean, we're hard-headed. For all the people that told us 15 years ago, oh, go ahead and hang it up, rock music's over, rock's dead. It's like, all right, well, we still enjoy doing it, and we still enjoy doing it with each other. So I think that's why we continue.
Well, that's great to hear. And with all of that, we are now expecting a new album. So hopefully you'll be around for a long, long time and keep on providing us with the great sounds. Hopefully it will be easier for you than you're going to have to talk about Blood and Stone, but we're still going to enjoy it. I want to confront you with a rumor. As you said, the album is touching on the family aspect as well, and your fans, as they anticipate Blood and Stone, they assume that there's a surprise on the album, as you said, kind of paying back to the family that was there to support you. But fans are talking about the fact that LaJohn's sister might be on the album. Is Reese Witherspoon on the album giving vocals? Is that true?
No, I'm not sure where you heard that.
Oh, that's not true.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but no, it's just us.
Okay.
We had a couple of moments where we were talking about bringing in guest vocalists and, threw around some different ideas. And I think the cover song was the special for us. That was kind of the, every record we always kind of discuss, is there something we want to do different? Do we want to step outside the box? But I think the Soundgarden cover was definitely a big enough step for us to take on this record.
And from that, I want to jump into your experience as a musician and as a fan. Obviously, over the last couple of years, we've lost a lot of musicians that we thought are doing well, whether it's physically, financially, or mentally. But obviously, with Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, many more that we thought are staying with us, but apparently we were wrong and we didn't catch that at time. Is there anything that you think that as fans or as musicians or as people that work around the music industry, we should do, either do more or do less to make it more safe, more welcoming to more musicians and more fans?
Just to be sensitive to kind of listen and, look for signs. I mean, just because Robin Williams is a classic example. Nobody really knew what Robin was going through there at the end. And it's such a tough situation because he was such a funny guy. He was a comedian. He was a guy who was always going to, lighten up the mood in the room. He was always the comedic relief. And it's the same thing with musicians. Everyone just assumes that, Chester Bennington's in Lincoln Park. He's got it made. He's got, he's got the life. But you don't know what day in, day out is for that person. Just because they have finances and they have money and they have fame doesn't necessarily mean that they have, happiness and, might not be fighting depression, which we come to find out that a lot of musicians do. And, I hear people say, oh, well, woe is me. I wish I had their problems. But until you walk a day in their shoes, you just don't know. I got a lot of friends who have a lot of money and they're not happy people. And I have a lot of friends who don't have a dime or a window to throw it out of that are some of the happiest people I've ever met in my life, that are just, they're not burdened down by a lot of the things that I guess, some musicians may find themselves burdened down with, In Chris's case, Chris was super, super awkward social guy, and what he was talking about in The Day I Tried to Live was, maybe tomorrow. I failed today at actually being able to be happy, being out in public, being around people. Neil Peart, another classic example of a musician who, obviously he didn't die from suicide or depression or anything like that, but his whole life was basically built around the fact that he was always awkward in crowds. He was always awkward around people. And I know a lot of people that are like that. I can get like that. If I'm out on tour for too long, sometimes it's great to hear how much people really enjoy your music and love what you do and things like that. But sometimes, I don't know, I guess sometimes musicians either feel like they don't deserve it or they've heard it so many times that, they start to doubt it. Or doubt themselves. And sometimes it has nothing to do with music whatsoever. Sometimes it could have something to do with, just family life, personal life, and just, I guess essentially being happy with yourself. So, don't assume that everyone's, that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence just because someone's got the means or, the finances or the gold records or the Billboard awards and stuff like that they might not be fighting something.
Okay, John, thank you very much for sharing that. Hopefully, whoever needed to hear that will get that and get that strength from that. As we said, Blood and Stone is out October 23rd. Is there anything else you would like to say to fans and listeners out there?
Just stay safe, stay healthy, and, please help us be able to get off the bench. We're ready to get back out on tour. And, with COVID-19 and the pandemic and everything like that, I just want everyone to be healthy, be safe, be smart, and hopefully in 2021 we can get back to normal and we can get over across the pond and we can do some shows.
Well, I'll get the kettle ready and I'll get some biscuits for you to come to the UK and rock with us.
That's awesome.
Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely.